Hello viewers, welcome back. So as part of our Tally feature of cost center, we will be covering various sessions on cost center. In the last session, we had covered briefly about how do we enable cost center, start capturing cost center transactions, and also we saw the cost center report. Now, as I mentioned in my previous session, from this session onwards, we will be covering in depth about the concepts of cost center, why cost centers are required for organizations, and how organizations can leverage this beautiful feature of cost center of Tally. So, this is going to be as part of our playlist cost center, and this will be the first part of our detailed explanation about our cost center. So let us go to PPT. I have actually created a PPT and we will go there and then I will start explaining about the concept of cost center, why cost center, what are cost centers, and sequence of sessions we will be covering various features of cost center activities that we can perform in Tally. So let us go and then start exploring and understanding the cost centers. Let us now get introduced to cost center. First, let us understand why cost center. In any organization, it is critical to keep track of expenses incurred for each of the department or unit. Here, let us not assume that cost center is restricted only to departments. That is why I am using the word unit. Later, I will explain what constitutes units and how you can track various aspects of an organization. To keep track of these expenses, we will be exploring a very useful feature of Tally Prime, the cost center. Let us now understand what is cost center. The meaning of cost center by Cambridge Dictionary is as follows, quote, a part of a company or organization considered as unit so that the cost relating to it can be calculated for the company's accounts. Another simple meaning, a part of an organization to which costs may be charged for accounting purposes. Cost center is majorly associated with a department or function of an organization that does not directly add to profit but still costs the organization money to operate. So the organization want to measure the cost incurred to the output or contribution of these departments, which are the cost centers. In simple words, a cost center is a unit or department where you will start allocating all expenses related to that particular unit or cost center. Allocation of revenue. We must have heard the term profit center. What does it mean? Earlier, we were discussing of expenses tracking of units or departments which do not directly contribute to the revenue of the organization. For example, let us take a unit or department of sales which is directly contributing to the revenues of the organization. Now, when you start tracking the expenses and income or revenue for that department, it is called as profit center. An expense or income is allocated to the respective cost centers or profit center. Once you have allocated the expenses or income or revenue of the respective cost centers, what are we going to do? Now, periodically, the management of the owner of the organization can view cost center reports, analyze and take informed decision. This is the complete cycle of cost center management. Let us now quickly visualize the cost center allocation methodology in this slide. If you take an organization or a company, there are various departments. Example, you have marketing department, you have accounts and finance, you have HR department, testing and QC department, and support and call center. So these are the various departments in an organization. And now if the organization wants to start tracking the cost for each of the departments, which if you notice, these are the departments which are not directly contributing to the revenues of the organization. So let us take an example that the company has spent money on paying salary to the employees of these various departments. So let's say a salary of 10 lakh rupees has been paid for this particular month. Now the organization has to allocate this amount to the respective cost centers for them to track the cost of each of the department. So what do? They will now start allocating the amount of salary that has been incurred for each of the department, and this is how they allocate and start tracking the expenses for each of the department. I was talking about the units. What are these units? The units can be anything that the company would want to track. So we'll quickly see how you can apply cost center for various aspects apart from the department also. So the first is, yes, of course you can allocate cost center for a department or a function, which we saw in the earlier slide how the allocation happens. The next is, if the organization has different product, they can also use product as part of their cost center. They can also use their line of business as cost center. Branches and locations also can form part of cost center. Individual, an employee of a particular department or employees of a particular department can also be a cost center. And last but not least, if the organization is running some projects or programs or events, and if they want to track cost of these programs, projects and events, they can do so. In the next session, we will discuss about each of these units with an example or a use case of how you can make use of this feature of cost center for these various units for an organization, in case if they want to start capturing the cost of these units. This introduction is purely for beginners or the fresh graduates who are getting into the world of business, and for them to understand the concept of cost center. So in the subsequent sessions also, we will be covering various use cases of how you can leverage the cost center features of Tally for your business requirement. So thank you all once again for staying till the end. See you all in the next session. Thank you very much.